Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to your Escambia County Sheriff's Office. We always look forward to our award ceremonies where we as an agency get to tell our community about the outstanding work that's completed day in and day out at the men and women of the Escambia County Sheriff's Office, both our sworn and non-sworn personnel. So without any further ado, we'll get started. Today we want to recognize the following individuals for their promotions. Charles Dickin to Lieutenant. Brandon Barnhill to Lieutenant. Brian Mulholland to Sergeant. And today, Sergeant Pat Roberts will receive the certificate for Sergeant Mulholland. He had a medical issue that he had to take care of. Patrick Roberts to Sergeant. Renee Reginden to Sergeant. Mikhail Lee II to Sergeant. Jacob Holloway to Sergeant. And Matthew Rowe to Sergeant. Ladies and gentlemen, these are our promotees at the Escambia County Sheriff's Office. And ladies and gentlemen, after the award ceremony, for family and friends that are here and you have an award recipient, we'll get things out of the way, and if you want to take photos and everything, again, we encourage you to please stay afterwards. The following employees received a letter of commendation for the third quarter. Deputy Peter Gallion, C-Shift Communications, Kelly Brown, Brittany McNair, Peyton Bell, Karen Jones, Joseph Romano, Julie Weaver, Carla Kunert, and Tina Kafka. The Century Deputies, Sergeant Mark DeWeese, Sergeant Bill Price, Sergeant Scott Mashburn, Senior Deputy Walt Shiver, Senior Deputy James Kelly, Senior Deputy Josh Taylor, Deputy First Class Sean Vestal, Senior Deputy David Bashmore, Deputy First Class James Gillum, Master Deputy Eugene Jackson, Deputy Donald Griffin, Deputy Eric Anderson, Deputy First Class Brent Ates, Deputy First Class Chris Daniel, Deputy Dustin Shaw, and Deputy First Class Ty Bruton, and Deputy John Beard, and Deputy Kyle Haver. Also, Deputy Jake Bandersky and Deputy Walt Shiver. Letters of commendation. Thank you. The following employees received a letter of commendation for the fourth quarter. Deputy Justina Tungle, Deputy Casey Bowling, Deputy Ronald Busby, Deputy Kevin Haddix, Deputy David Ramirez, and I call these the Sheriff's Office Sheriff Reading Test every fourth quarter. Our honorees for the fourth quarter. Thank you. Our following personnel received life-saving awards. Please come forward. Senior Deputy Timothy Hernandez, Master Deputy Matt Clark. Master Deputy Clark is going to, his award to be accepted by Deputy Hernandez. On November the 3rd, 2017, Senior Deputy Tim Hernandez and Master Deputy Matt Clark executed a writ of possession. Upon arrival, they could hear the residents inside the house yelling and making loud noises. The locksmith opened the door, but it was barricaded with wooden planks. The deputies gained entry and saw the female resident sliding down the wall to the floor in distress. She apparently tried to hang herself with a black nylon cord, but it had broken loose from the ceiling. Deputy Hernandez and Clark moved her to the front porch where it was discovered the cord was still wrapped around her neck. It was so tight that she had gone unconscious. Deputy Hernandez's assistants and Deputy Clark were able to cut the nylon cord without causing further injury to the victim. There were ligature marks around her neck and they were bleeding. The victim regained consciousness. EMS could not respond in a timely manner. Deputy Hernandez transported the victim to the hospital for treatment, and she was admitted under the provisions of the Baker Act. Senior Deputy Tim Hernandez and Master Deputy Robert Clark are commended for their quick, proficient response resulting in the preservation of life. The life-saving medals are awarded for a job well done. Our next life-saving award goes to Deputy Larry Richardson. On 9/25/2017, excuse me, Deputy Larry Richardson responded to 6214 Palafox Street for a suicide threat call. Prior to Deputy Richardson's arrival, dispatch advised a male threatening suicide had climbed into a tree with a rope, was going to hang himself. As Deputy Richardson arrived at the area of the call, he was flagged down by citizens who told him Devin Eldridge was at the top of the tree with 3 people who were trying to keep him from hanging himself. The 3 people in the tree were able to come down safely upon the arrival of Deputy Richardson. Deputy Richardson requested the fire department to respond to bring a ladder. Upon their arrival, Deputy Richardson utilized their ladder and climbed to the top of the tree, placing himself in danger in order to make contact with Mr. Eldridge. Deputy Richardson was able to establish a rapport with Mr. Eldridge and to talk to him about his problems and relate to him about his children. After some time in the tree, Deputy Richardson was able to talk Mr. Eldridge down to safety. Due to Deputy Richardson's quick, prompt response and alert actions, he was instrumental and the reason Mr. Eldridge was able to be safely removed from the tree and receive the care that he needed. Deputy Richardson is awarded the Life-Saving Medal for a job well done. The following employees are receiving our Medal of Courage: Deputy Stephen Hussam, Deputy Patrick Roberts, and Deputy Kenneth Bull. On 8/10/17, units responded to Circle Drive in reference to a vehicle submerged in the water with the driver, Angela Clark, trapped inside. Without regard to their own safety, Deputy Patrick Roberts, Deputy Stephen Hussam, Deputy John Zabel, and Deputy Ken Bull stripped off their gear and entered the water along with civilian Dylan Smith. Civilian Dylan Smith broke the driver's side window with a hammer, and Angela Clark was pulled from the driver's seat by Dylan Smith and Deputy Roberts. Deputy Roberts and Deputy Hussam swam Clark to shore, where Deputy Busby, Deputy Bowling, and Deputy Tungle pulled Clark up onto the bank and took turns administering CPR until a pulse was reestablished. Although Clark passed away approximately 1 week later, the officers' extensive efforts allowed the Clark family members to be with her until her passing. It should also be noted that prior to officers arriving on scene, civilians Dylan Smith and Zachary Caudill assisted a young girl ashore who had escaped from the passenger seat of the submerged vehicle. These deputies and civilians are commended for a job well done. Unfortunately, civilians Smith and Caudill could not be here today to receive their civilian service awards. Our next award is a Purple Heart and also our Law Enforcement Officer of the Third Quarter, Deputy Tim Ron Young. On July the 11th, 2017, Deputy Young was investigating a child custody call. The dispute was between a grandmother and her daughter over the custody of a grandchild. Deputy Young was standing on the front porch speaking with the grandmother. He heard a vehicle rapidly accelerating at them from the roadway. Deputy Young bravely made the decision to push the grandmother out of the way. The vehicle struck Deputy Young as well as the grandmother. The grandmother survived the incident due to Deputy Young's alert response. Deputy Young was gravely injured and is still in the healing process. Deputy Young's self-sacrifice and bravery saved the life of a 63-year-old grandmother. This incident was investigated by the Florida Highway Patrol. The suspect was arrested and is currently incarcerated awaiting trial. For placing himself in harm's way and disregarding his own personal safety to save the life of a 63-year-old grandmother, Deputy Young is awarded the Purple Heart and is also our Law Enforcement Officer of the Third Quarter. Our Law Enforcement Employee of the Third Quarter, Kelly Brown. Kelly here. Kelly Brown was working Channel 3 radio on August the 22nd, 2017, in Bolo that a stolen vehicle was taken during a home invasion from the north end. Deputies spotted the vehicle along with another stolen vehicle from earlier in the day that were together. The vehicles took off in separate directions, and both vehicles were chased by separate deputies. During this time, the computers froze up, and deputies continued to call out their locations. Kelly was able to keep up with two chases going on at the same time while remaining composed. Suspects in both vehicles eventually bailed out, and foot pursuits began. Again, Kelly was composed and was able to keep up with both incidents and was able to get canines and crime scene to the locations that needed the assistance. During this track, we received a call of a burglary that had just occurred with a suspect matching the outstanding suspect. Kelly got the information out quickly, and another canine track was developed. Kelly was very professional during the entire incident and is to be commended for her part in the capture of all of these suspects. Kelly Brown is our law enforcement officer, our law enforcement employee of the quarter for the third quarter. Kelly, thank you. Our law enforcement employee for the fourth quarter, Angela Baroga. On October the 27th, 2017, deputies responded to the area of Warrington Bank on Barrancas Avenue for a suspicious person causing a disturbance. Upon arrival, they located an uncooperative individual that would later attempt to reach for a firearm and shoot at them. Dispatchers are trained to handle various situations and the unexpected every time they sit down behind the radio. No dispatcher wants to hear the words "shots fired" or "officer injured." On this day, Ariel Baroga came to work not knowing that the deputies she was helping protect would have their lives put in danger by a stranger. Ariel did not hesitate to initiate an officer in trouble signal and immediately had backup officers responding to the scene. At the same time, she was on the phone making numerous phone calls to the bank and also to EMS to get medical attention to the area. During the incident, Ariel never lost sight of what was important. She maintained her composure and throughout the entire incident, making sure her officers were safe while staying focused. Ariel Baroga handled her duties in an exemplary fashion and is therefore our law enforcement employee of the quarter for the fourth quarter. Our law enforcement officer for the fourth quarter, Deputy Josh Timo. On December of 2016, Deputy Josh Timo was transferred from the Patrol Division to Investigations to assume the role of a gun response team investigator. Deputy Timo didn't have any previous investigative experience, but appeared to be committed to learn and willing to work a flexible schedule based upon a caseload. Investigator Timo was quickly immersed in violent gun crime and gang-related cases without any formal training and took an on-the-job approach to learning what is required to solve such complicated and complex cases. Many times in these cases, the victims are uncooperative, as are the suspects. Over a period of 10 months, Investigator Timo had worked tirelessly through all his day duties as well as all-night call-outs without complaints. In this short amount of time, Investigator Timo successfully worked and participated in at least 46 weapon and robbery-related cases assigned to him, resulting in the arrest of 29 separate defendants. During that course of time, he also executed 26 search warrants to recover and/or obtain crucial evidence needed to successfully prosecute the suspects involved. Investigator Timo garnered the respect of other investigators, and his knowledge gained in the last 10 months is frequently relied upon to assist in unsolved cases. Investigator Timo's commitment to duty, dedication, and superior work performance as a new investigator is duly recognized, and he is our law enforcement deputy of the fourth quarter. And now we're proud to announce our law enforcement employee of the year, Kelly Brown. And our Law Enforcement Officer of the Year, Deputy Timron Young. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our formal award ceremony. Again, we ask that all of you stay, and for those of you who are award recipients and have family and friends, we encourage you to please come up front and have photos taken. And again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your Escambia County Sheriff's Office. Thank you.